So it looks like we got another hoaxer, but this time this guy called in something like 2,000 different bomb threats between 2015 and 2017. But, I read a few different stories and I pieced together a bunch of the key points, and I'll go through a few of them because obviously the mainstream media is not going to be focusing on this too much. The BBC mentioned it, some people in Britain and European countries mentioned it, but there's barely any coverage of it on the American press. There's a few New York Times and a couple others, but obviously, this is not going to be a platform or something that they want to push because it goes against their narrative, right? And the more hoaxes that keep getting exposed, the less people are going to believe, actual events of racism or discrimination. So it's like all these hoaxes just, are a disservice to people who are actually against racism or against, reducing discrimination. But this kid did 2,000, but I'll read a few of the points. U.S. Israeli man jailed for 10 years over bomb hoax calls. So, this guy is a Jewish guy as well, slash American citizen. But, he did all these calls, to try to increase the fear of anti-Semitism. But Michael Kadar was found guilty in June of about 2,000 hoaxes between 2015 and 17 that were so extensive that they contributed to the rising fears of anti-Semitism in the United States. So, and that's the same all over the world. Like just in Canada here, after that Pittsburgh shooting happened, there's an article that came out and in the National Post, and it was some Jewish group saying like, well, since the rates of anti-Semitism have been going up all over the world, and you look at these numbers that we have, we should institute all of these oppressive policies and go under our definition of anti-Semitism, which is essentially if you criticize Israel for anything that they do, you're an anti-Semite and you should be prosecuted, and anybody who denies the Holocaust or it says that some like maybe one less person died is going to go to jail. So it's like, they've been using a lot of these false hoaxes or these hoaxes to push their narrative. But I'll read a bit more because it gets a little bit more interesting. His trial was told he used the internet to make hoax telephone calls to the US, UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So he's called all of these Western countries specifically and increase the fears of anti-Semitism. And obviously between 2015 and 17 too, right when like Trump is elected and a lot of these people, a lot of right-wingers are starting to get more popularity in these countries, than the narrative of like, oh, these nationalists are being very hateful towards Jewish people now. And a lot of the cases of anti-Semitism that do happen, especially in Europe, is usually like some Muslim guy assaulting some Jewish people or something. So it's not even right wing a lot of the time. But his trial was told, whatever. According to U.S. court documents, Kadar made at least 245 threatening telephone calls involving bomb and active shooter threats in the first 2 months of 2017, a significant portion of which targeted Jewish institutions such as the Anti-Defamation League. All those, when that was happening, it was all being blamed on Trump, even though he's like, made Israel, or move the capital or something to Israel. I forget what he did, but, and is pretty much their friend in a lot of issues, kind of cucks to them for a lot of shit. So it's like, okay, but now he's a big Jew hater. But as we see, 2,000 of these things between 2015 and 17 were hoaxes. So it's like, it casts doubt on everything else. And there's a lot more hoaxes that we see all the time that are not just this. That like I said, there was that guy or those Somali teens that were pretending they were being discriminated against, but when really they're just dine and dashers. Then there's that Muslim girl that said, oh, she had her hijab pulled off and she got like news attention. And there's tons of cases like that. There was just the other last year, I think too, there's some other Jewish guy that was like caught pushing over a bunch of Jewish cemeteries and calling out other bomb threats. So it's like it's their own people doing it, right? And but I'll go on to get, like I said, more interesting. A significant portion of the events were targeting Jewish people. His calls contained graphic descriptions of fake impending violence to the facilities, in particular to children, with many resulting in evacuations or lockdowns, the document said. Separately, he was charged with attempts to blackmail Ernesto Lopez, a Delaware state senator, with incriminations on the internet and threatening to kidnap and kill the children of a former Pentagon official. So like this guy, he was like 17, 18, 19 when all this was going down. But Kadar worked internationally. In June 2015, 6 people were injured at a Canadian airport when a threat he called in forced passengers to disembark on emergency slides in a panic. The next year following, a bomb threat later attributed to him, Switzerland and France scrambled fighter jets to accompany a plane operated by Israel's national carrier, El Al, as it passed through their airspace. So like all of these fake hoaxes, they're not just like going to make people believe you less when something does happen. They're potentially going to kill people, harm people, put people in harm's way, cost millions and millions of dollars. So it's like, these are far-reaching consequences for these fake fucking hoaxes. But separately, okay, he was charged with that, Switzerland and France, and then another was against a plane flying the Boston Celtics U.S. basketball team, and one forced a Virgin Atlantic aircraft to dump 8 tons of fuel before landing to lessen the potential fire risk from an explosion. So it's like, and then report in the Israeli media said Qatar took payments for some of the school bomb threats from students who wanted exams postponed. So like, that's a part of it. I'm sure he got like a small portion of his money from that, but still, like, that's just because you want your exam postponed, you're going to help increase fears of anti-Semitism in countries and shit. Like, how fucking irresponsible are you? What kind of a piece of shit are you to do that? But but I didn't study enough for my exam, so yeah, I'm gonna pay this guy. But it gets even worse, right? In passing sentence, the court said the defendant offered on the dark web part of the internet accessible only through special software to make bomb and shooting threats for money, earning about $330,000 worth of digital currency Bitcoin. The court also said Qatar refuses to disclose the password to his Bitcoin digital wallet, and its value has since risen to more than 1.4 million. So it's like, this guy's getting quite a bit of fucking money to do this, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I doubt all that money that he's getting is just coming from students. Who knows who the fuck is on the dark web, but this serves many purposes to try to increase the fears of anti-Semitism. Like I said, in Canada, there's these people trying to implement these new laws because of the statistics that were boosted by 2,000 of this guy's fake hoaxes. And for it to start between 2015 and 17, pretty much during Trump's election and when he started running to 2017 until he got caught, he would have kept doing it. And, like his parents are saying that, the kid's autistic or something. But Qadar's parents argued that he had a brain tumor that caused autism and other mental problems, and that he should not be considered legally competent. But the judge, while acknowledging Qadar was autistic, said he has a high IQ and understands his deeds very well. So it's like, yeah, this guy got 10 years for that, which is, probably should have got a little bit more because of the amount of money, the amount of havoc and shit that it costs. But, this is why I always, I don't really, I'm very skeptical whenever I hear things nowadays, especially things of, discrimination, especially when it comes to, Jewish people or Muslim people and stuff, because, the media just jumps all over it and uses it to push their narrative. They're not going to fact check. They're not going to do much, even though this guy has been convicted in 2017. This has been out for a while, this information, but the media isn't going to focus on that. They'd rather just let you believe that since Trump was elected, since people are starting to become more nationalistic or starting to care more about their country, being slightly more liking populism, then, they want to keep this narrative up that, it's driving hate towards this, and we're going to have another Holocaust soon if we keep going in this direction. But that's all complete bullshit. But, once again, whenever you see something in the media now, and, just be skeptical of it. Don't believe everything you see, even if there's all these numbers saying like, look at the rise of this and that, because it can easily be boosted by liars like this who are getting paid on the dark web to do this shit. And, I think the U.S. is trying to get him into the U.S. to, jail him there. And hopefully they do. And hopefully they catch more people like this and they get prosecuted hard, because like this, it could potentially kill people. It could institute new policies that are going to be oppressive, like I said, and it's going to cost millions of dollars. Like these jets are being flown in to stop somebody or prevent this other jet from being blown up or something, because this guy is, fucking around. But, just wanted to let you guys know that, because I'm assuming the media isn't going to cover it too much. So that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.